All right, so the next thing I have to do is put a chimney on top of that hip right there, which is why we've been doing all this crazy structure, because the chimney doesn't actually come down to the roof, it just sits on top. So the chimney up there is gonna weigh 6,000 to 8,000 pounds. It's gonna stick up 5 feet above the peak, and it's gonna be subject to snow loads and some pretty substantial wind loads from that water. So it's gonna have to be pretty strong up there. So what we want it to look like is a square chimney sitting centered on that ridge, centered on that hip, centered on that hip. Here's my little picture. Unfortunately, they're unequal pitches, so it's not as simple as centering it on the ridge. You have to center it on the hip. So I did a full-scale mock-up. That's the actual center of the ridge to hip. That's where the center line of the chimney has to be. So what you do is you draw your hips out like that. This chimney is going to be 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet. So I've got the base for the stone, 1/2-inch plywood, 2x4 framing. And I kind of just placed it so that it would all plane out with the corner of the hips. These hips don't come off at a 45 because I have a 12.875 pitch here and a 14 pitch here, 12.875 there. So these are close to a 45, but not a 45 at all. So here's what it looks like side profile. The 14 pitch side. If you guys noticed, I had a piece of LVL that hangs out throughout, that sticks out through the roof. And that's to create a brick shelf or a stone shelf. So I'm gonna have a 4x4 there, stone sitting on top of it, 1/2-inch plywood, 2x4 framing for the chimney to hold the stone veneer, and then a cap. So that's how it looks like on the 14 pitch side. Same thing, starting with the stone shelf at the same height. It changes a little bit for the 12.875 pitch side. That's the theoretical hip. That's the actual top of my ridge. The only way I can figure out something like this is to just draw it out. I'm thinking I might actually assemble it right on top of this, right on the floor, and then using one of those to lift it up. That's all I got. Hope it works.